Stephen Dickens is here, CEO, Principal Analyst, Hyperframe Research. Good to see you. So are people still hot on the AI trends? They want to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think, Nicole, always a pleasure to be on the show. I think we've seen some mega caps reports already. We've got AWS after the bell, obviously. I think looking at some of the fundamentals, we've obviously had a lot of question points. We saw DeepSeek question the market, but some of the fundamentals are really starting to bounce back. You look at where we are with cloud growth, the hyperscalers, that's Google, that's Microsoft, that's Amazon. I expect those guys to be reporting 30% or upwards on their core profit engine for the business. So I think the key takeaway for me is, as I look at these big players, is that strong cloud growth, it's a real engine. It drives a lot of the downstream. It drives the storage, the compute, the semiconductor play. I think the other one name that stands out for me and is Oracle. They're the only one that's growing bigger than that sort of low 30% range. Their last couple of earnings have been in the 50% range on their Oracle cloud infrastructure. So those are the things I'm looking out for as we look at the sort of early part of the earnings season and those mega caps, Nicole.
Impressed with Microsoft Azure or anything Microsoft in the last round?
Yeah, I think strong growth from those guys. I think the growth, as I say, we're starting to see these cloud providers consistently grow at 30+% quarter on quarter. That obviously underpins, we're seeing a strong adoption with Copilot. So Satya was on X earlier on today talking about some of the metrics there. I think there's a lot of bullish. I think that goes downstream for the wider AI play around custom silicon, goes down through into that storage and networking space. So really bullish we're starting to see that as a consistent quarter over quarter trend.
Amazon had some great numbers. I mean, with revenue up and earnings per share beating, they had the ad growth of 19%. There were a lot of bright spots here. A little bit light on the short on the cloud revenue and some light guidance. What stands out to you with Amazon, the Amazon Web Services, the infrastructure? Is this a name you like?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I like. I mean, obviously, I don't track the ad business as much, but I think I'm looking at that as a key lead indicator for the overall market as a whole. I think 19% there is really strong. Maybe an anti-recessionary type message that's coming through. Obviously, too early to say with some of that tariff uncertainty going on in the market, but I think that AWS has got that sort of marketplace. Amazon has got that marketplace, and that's pretty strong. I think for the AWS business, this is a juggernaut, Nicole. It's $100+ billion now as an annual business. It's a huge, huge component of the margin structure for the wider Amazon business. They've got some strong propositions around Bedrock. They've launched their own language model with Nova. So a lot of the fundamentals there are in place. Continue to innovate on the core infrastructure as well. Down in the detail, some announcements around storage and that I covered only recently. So they're continuing to invest. These guys are the absolute beast when it comes to the public cloud, and continuing to see those guys invest in infrastructure as well, with up over 100 billion of capex that they're planning to make. So again, bullish for the overall AI trade as that comes down through Amazon's investment into the wider sector.
I know a lot of folks have been excited about AI agents and the AI race versus China and such. Is there a wow moment here? Is there something as a person who is so immersed in technology that you're saying, this is really great, here's what we really have got?
I think there's been a lot of coverage around Huawei. I'm sort of skeptical there. I think they're always going to be a regional player. I don't see those guys genuinely innovating and taking share from the sort of AI industrial complex in the North American and sort of wider global markets. Yes, they'll supply local suppliers, the Tencents and the Alibabas and the other providers and service providers in the Chinese market. But I genuinely don't see them sort of impacting on the wider Nvidias, the AMDs, the ARMs, the Intels ultimately, from a silicon perspective, or into being providers to any of the hyperscalers we've already mentioned. So I think for me, the big kind of wow moment, I've been out with Logic Monitor this week. I'm off to IBM next week. As I spend time with the senior leaders in these organizations, we're now to the point where these agentic offerings are starting to become real and are starting to get deployed at scale. And crucially, we're starting to see them translate into revenue for these organizations. So I think a lot of the hype we've been talking about over the last 3 months starting to really manifest itself in the earnings, and we'll see that through the rest of the earnings season as it plays out over the next few weeks.
Yeah, what about just a quick thought on Nvidia? Obviously, we have headlines every single day, but a thought on Nvidia right now at 111?
So I think those guys are really solid. I think CUDA's a moat. I think they've got true, genuine innovation up and down the stack. Jensen's running a powerhouse of a business there. I think solid fundamentals. Yes, they get rocked by the news occasionally on the daily basis, the Huawei stuff, the DeepSeek stuff. But I think those are just temporary blips, Nicole. I don't see them as affecting the fundamentals of what's a juggernaut and a powerhouse of a business. There's going to be a picks and shovels play for AI for many quarters to come.
Stephen Dickens, CEO and Principal Analyst at Hyperframe Research.